After several years, I finally have every single Fantastic Four Epic collection. But was it worth it?
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video, we're taking a look at the Fantastic Four Epic Collection because I own every single volume that Marvel has released of the Fantastic Four Epics to date being May 2026. I have them all. I had to spend stupid money on several of these. I don't know if this is a recommended course of action. I will say that if you have been collecting the Epic collections, like me, for several years and you wanted to fill out the collection, yeah, it's worth tracking them down. But I did have someone ask recently, should I even bother with the Epics because of how the aftermarket price is in some of them? Or should I just try to get the Omnis? And honestly, probably just try to go for the omnibuses, because the thing is that if you're going to buy a book for over $100, wouldn't it be better if it was like an omnibus instead of just a thick paperback? So yeah, we're going to kind of talk about that, because for me, it was worth it to fill out the collection I already started years ago. But if you're just starting into getting Fantastic Four, maybe look down the path of the omnibuses. It's going to be kind of tricky, but I love the Fantastic Four, and that's what this video is about. So we're going to go through all the volumes that have been released, and I thought it'd be kind of fun if we went through the order that they were first released by the first printing, and then kind of show you where it all ends up at the end, because it's kind of interesting, and also kind of interesting to talk about which volumes have never had reprints, because that's where some of my complicated findings ended up being. So if you think this will be enjoyable, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and the notification bell if you haven't already. Those two things help the channel immensely. Hit the hype button if it's available to you. That helps out as well. The first Fantastic Four volume actually wasn't anything from the Jack Kirby Stan Lee run. It was, in fact, All in the Family. So Fantastic Four All in the Family is the first ever Fantastic Four Epic collection, and it started with volume 17. New people to Epic collections may not know that, yes, they do print them out of order sometimes. There's some smaller series, like Generation X has been released completely in order, Avengers West Coast as well. But with the larger series, the volumes will be printed based on how other things are going. Masterworks, omnibuses, that sort of thing. So this was actually the first one printed in January 15th, 2014. And this is a very weird volume to start with, because obviously you do have Fantastic Four 296 to 307 in annual number 20. You also have Fantastic Four versus the X-Men 1 to 4. This is covering 1986 to 1987. And so you have kind of a weird mix of creators in there, because this is sort of a point, like here's 296, which was a big anniversary issue. But it's sort of a weird mix of creators to start with on the first Fantastic Four Epic to be released. But also, this is the kind of stuff that doesn't get into other collections that often, and so I think that might have been the reason they started with this one. Plus, you have Fantastic Four versus the X-Men in the middle of this, which is pretty iconic for the X-Men and the Fantastic Four storylines, so that's pretty fun. How I got my copy was because I did not buy this when it came out in 2014. I wouldn't have had such a trouble collecting the Epic collections if I'd started from the beginning, but I didn't know they were a thing in 2014. I don't think I would have cared at that point. But anyways, so this one here, if you can kind of tell, it's a little weirdly beat up. So I found this at a local comic shop. They get trades in, and they always have like trades or cover price, whatever cover price is. So even if it's an older trade, you still pay cover price. But this one was marked down to 20 bucks because of the damage. So yeah, at the time I was picking this up, it's still kind of a expensive volume online. So you can see it's got that weird, like, somehow smashed and rippled through. But I figured because the spine looked good, and that's what I'm going to look at most times, and like, you know, all right, yeah, pages are a bit dinged. I'm not going to let it ruin my day. If Marvel were to reprint this, yeah, I'd probably buy it again just for a nicer copy. But honestly, it's not too bad. But this is kind of one of the harder ones to find, because it was printed in 2014 and never reprinted, which is kind of crazy, because, yeah, a lot of people don't have this one because of how long ago it came out. All right, the next one released was Into the Time Stream, which came out July 23rd, 2014, and was reprinted July 23rd, 2024. Crazy that it came out 10 years apart on the exact same day. This is volume 20, jumping us forward to 1989 to 1990 with Fantastic Four 334 to 346, Annual 23, material from New Mutants Annual 6, X-Factor Annual 5, and X-Men Annual 14. So I believe that is the Days of Future Present storyline, or the Days of Future Past storyline, Days of Future Present, that features Franklin Richards. This is the reprint. This was basically just a case of, in 2024 when they reprinted it, I bought it on release day. Because yes, this is the second printing, but it's the 2024 edition. And there you go. So you can see kind of the paper stock is nicer now. The paper stock has improved. The early epics had kind of a cheaper paper stock, which is why you'll see throughout the video some of them are yellowed. This one, it's kind of an interesting era as well. There was Death's Head flying by. That was fun. Some crazy cool stuff, but of course it does have Days of Future Present, which was a storyline with Franklin, and the Days of Future Past storyline, which was run through backup stories and annuals. So it's pretty nice it's all included within this volume. Third one, released September 10th, 2014, was The World's Greatest Comic Magazine, which is the first volume in the Fantastic Four Epic Collection. This was reprinted August 25th, 2021, and then October 8th, 2024. Much like the previous one, I have the most recent reprint, which was the 2024 reprint. This is, of course, Volume 1, which contains Fantastic Four 1 to 18 from 1961 to 1963, and it's some of the best damn comics of the Silver Age. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's work on this is just so good. It's not like the strongest from the jump. I think the first issue is pretty good, but it does get kind of weird as they're sort of finding their footing on doing a superhero team book, but it's fantastic. This is a volume that I think should just always be in print, but it does seem to be pretty easy to come across. It is quite a nice book and a great collection of stories. Released May 20th, 2015, was Strange Days, jumping all the way forward to Volume 25 from 1995 to 1996, containing Fantastic Four 403 to 416, Fantastic Four The Legend, Onslaught Marvel Universe, and Tales of the Marvel Universe, marking the end of the original Fantastic Four series. And this volume was a big gap for me for a long time because it has not been reprinted. They didn't do the thing they did with Into the Time Stream, where they did a 10th anniversary reprint. This has not been reprinted. And so getting one of these is trickier. Now, this isn't as in high demand because the DeFalco era, this kind of, Onslaught era stuff is not super popular with a huge crowd of people. And so because of that, it is a little easier to come by, though I see volumes go for 100+ still, because I think one of the reasons why this became more in demand was because it was announced that there will be a volume 26. We weren't sure if Heroes Reborn would even be included in the epics, and then now we know that the next Fantastic Four volume to come out is volume 26, which is Heroes Reborn, meaning that all of us that had up to 24 suddenly had a gap, right? Before it was like, oh, okay, well, whenever they reprint that final volume, we're good to go, but now it's like, oh, well, I'm going to have 24 and then 26, and we don't know if there's going to be a 27, or if that's going to be Modern Volume 1. But anyways, this was a little bit harder to get. For me, I just shot my shot on an eBay listing. I thought, okay, if Marvel reprints it, it'll be a $60 cover price most likely because of the page count. So I was like, all right, here, eBay seller, here's an offer for $60. They took it, and now I got my Strange Days. Released June 28, 2017, was The Master Plan of Doctor Doom, also reprinted March 24th, 2021. Though apparently that has never met the demand. I spent a big chunk of change to get this one. This is one of the last two I needed. And I ended up winning it on an eBay auction alongside Volume 5. The name is Doom. And I will admit that I was tracking eBay auctions while doing a live stream like a complete professional that I am. I won one of the auctions, guys.
What you get?
I'm overpaying a little bit of what I should, but I got Fantastic Four Epic Collection number 2. It's super out of print, and I know it hopefully will get reprinted one day, but Marvel only did like 7 Epic Collection reprints this year, so I was like,
you're desperate.
I'm waiting for the other auction to go through at the moment. I'm just watching this for a minute, guys, because professionalism, but also I really freaking want this. It says hang tight, we're determining the winner.
Current,
yes! I have all the
You got it?
Fantastic Four Epic collections now. You're welcome, everybody, when they reprint all of them next year. All right, so anyways, Master Plan of Doctor Doom. This is Volume 2. This contains Fantastic Four 19 to 32, Annual 1 and 2. This is, of course, more Jack Kirby, Stan Lee run. It is really good. This is where things start kind of really shaping up, really becoming some really cool stuff. You get crossovers with the Avengers and the X-Men. The Watcher starts to appear. You get some Kang storylines, of course, plenty of Doctor Doom stories covering 63 to 64. This volume is in hot demand. It is sometimes hard to even find a listing for it. That is because the Jack Kirby Stan Lee run of Fantastic Four is so iconic that the volumes that somehow didn't have enough copies meet the demand, they're definitely going to be harder to get than some of the others. Released June 27th, 2018 and reprinted August 16th, 2022, the new Fantastic Four was my first Fantastic Four Epic collection. This is Volume 21 from 1990 to 1992. This contains Fantastic Four 347 to 361, Annual 24 material from Marvel Holiday Special. This is the famous storyline, which is only like 2 issues, even though, I think the iconicism of it makes it seem like it's longer. But the Fantastic Four get incapacitated, and so Wolverine, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Ghost Rider become the new Fantastic Four. It's a total of a 3-parter, but I feel like their lineup only begins towards the end of Part 1. But this is an iconic storyline, and it leads into some really great 90s Fantastic Four that I quite enjoy. And this was a case of I really wanted this storyline, and at the time, I thought, oh, hey, that would be a pretty cool pickup. And then I started getting more into epics. In that time frame, like 2022 was about where I started going like, oh, I should get more epics. I had a couple. And then, now I'm, super down the rabbit hole, and hence all this. So, because at the time in 2022, it was a little bit easier to get some of these volumes, but this was one I picked up. They had done a mini-series that was a sequel to this, and so they reprinted this to go alongside of it. Really great volume. I don't know how available it still is. I feel like it's one that should stay in print just because, that lineup of the replacement Fantastic Four is very iconic. But if you can get it, it's a pretty good starter volume as well. Released August 1st, 2018, reprinted January 29, 2020, and April 4th, 2023, is The Coming of Galactus. So you see, while they're not doing Fantastic Four in order, the Jack Kirby Stan Lee run was being done in order, because here's Volume 3, from 64 to 66, containing Fantastic Four 33 to 51, and Annual number 3. This one they've been keeping around. I've been seeing more copies of this out there even 3 years after its last printing. I think it's been restocked a few times, and I'm really glad it is, because this is one of the best volumes of comics you could ever get. You've got the Frightful Four in here. You've got the, of course, title story with Galactus, which has the debut of Galactus and Silver Surfer. You've got the Daredevil crossover that the 90s cartoon adapted. You have so many great stories. This was one of the easiest reads I've ever had of comics, and especially because these are comics from the 60s, that is a very impressive feat in a lot of ways. But yeah, you got the entire Inhuman saga is built in here, and then of course it ends with the coming of Galactus and the Silver Surfer. This is one of, not to mention, sorry, on top of that, you have This Man, This Monster, one of the most heralded issues of Fantastic Four ever. This is one of those volumes, kind of like Fate of the Phoenix for the X-Men line, where it's like, how is there that many great stories back to back when you read them sequentially? And that also means this is one of the best epic collections ever made. I cannot recommend it enough, and I want Marvel to keep it in print forever. They should never run out of stock of this. Anytime it starts to get low, they should do another print run, because this book is the basis for so much in Marvel and comics history, and it is so good that it should always be available in this supposedly affordable form. First released June 19, 2019, and then later reprinted May 13, 2025, The More Things Change. This is Volume 18 from 87 to 88, with Fantastic Four 308, 320, Annual 21, Incredible Hulk 350, and Marvel graphic novel Incredible Hulk and Thing, The Big Change. Lots of crazy stuff goes down in this book. This is one of those crazy eras where they're mixing up the status quo, they're mixing up the team lineup. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. It's a good time. It's a fun little era where the team is not exactly in the same configuration that we normally expect it. which happens a lot more than you'd think. The adaptations really do keep to, of course, our main four characters, Reed, Sue, Johnny, Ben, but the comics have mixed up the team from time to time, and this is definitely one of those eras where that happens quite a bit. No crazy story for this one. I just picked up the reprint when it happened last year. Released August 21st, 2019, The Mystery of the Black Panther was also reprinted October 18th, 2022. Was, of course, our next sequential volume in the Kirby and Lee run, and it is Volume 4 from 1966 to 1967, with Fantastic Four 52 to 67 and Annual 4 to 5. Mystery of the Black Panther, of course, has the debut of the Black Panther, which is awesome, because, yes, he did debut in the Fantastic Four. This volume also features from some fun stuff with the Inhumans following up from the previous volume, as well as some space shenanigans. Always a good time. So really cool stuff within here. Really, really awesome. So this is also one of those volumes that I think they do keep around a little bit more because it is the debut of Black Panther. It's a little bit easier to get. I, of course, picked up the 2022 edition at some point at a normal retail price. So they broke format a little bit where they're kind of doing like one non-Kirby Lee, one Kirby Lee, but they decided to just kind of make a dash to finish Kirby and Lee. So the next release was June 24th, 2020. The Name is Doom, which is Volume 5. And oh my God, this book is so hard to come by. So the 2020 year, obviously, was racked with a big global event. By the way, this is 67 to 69. 68 to 87 in Annual 6. The thing is that in 2020, of course, with the global pandemic happening, there was a lot of problems of like shipping and distribution and everything like that. And so a lot of the Epic collections and some of the omnibuses from 2020 have gotten very hard to come by because the stock numbers that would have normally happened didn't happen. And then on top of that, there's been a big tick up since 2020 of comic book collectors. And so there's some books from 2020 that are insanely hard to get. I spent more money on this volume than I did any of the others. It's the Kirby and Lee run. It has never been reprinted. It's only been printed in 2020, and it is in pretty high demand. There is points in time you can't even find an active eBay listing for this, let alone an affordable one. I spent double my normal rate to get this just so I could finish the collection. It also was another auction I was doing. But the thing is, I do really like this series, and I wanted to fill this gap because I'd already invested all this into this format. And so that's why it was worth it to me. I'm never doing that again. It was only just to finish Fantastic Four because they are my favorite Marvel team. But this needs a reprint, just like Volume 2 needs a reprint, and probably the next one. Released October 28, 2020, was At War with Atlantis, the final Kirby and Lee volume. This was a little bit easier to come by, I think, because by October of 2020, things had stabilized a bit in the retail space. But this is Volume 6 from 1969 to 1970, containing Fantastic Four 88 to 104, as well as Fantastic Four The Lost Adventure. This is one of the thinner epics in the line, but I think it's because they wanted to cut it off with the end of the Jack Kirby era, because that is, I think, it makes a nice 6-volume collection. But this is the end. This is the end of the Kirby years on Fantastic Four. And in the back here, there is the inclusion of Fantastic Four 108's original version. So what this basically was is that you have, basically, long story here. Fantastic Four 108, which is in the next volume, has quite a bit of history behind it. It was originally meant to be 102, but Stanley felt that Jack Kirby's story, as submitted, wasn't dialogable because Kirby basically wrote the stories by drawing the stories, and then Stanley would come in and do the dialogue. So Stan ran the story intended for Fantastic Four 103, which Kirby turned in along with his resignation at Marvel in 102, and put the rejected art on the shelf for a few months. And then they, Bullpen eventually chopped up Kirby's originals, rearranged panels, and had John Buscema add some filler art, changed the ending, sent the whole thing to Joe Sent to Inc., and published it. Not so coincidentally, the same month Kirby's New Gods #1 came out at DC. The end result was a real mess that, quite frankly, didn't make much sense. And so basically, how bad was Kirby's original? Well, here is Kirby's original sketches, which kind of gives you an idea of how the original Fantastic Four 102 was supposed to be. And then it has here the Fantastic Four Lost Adventure, which has the actual kind of finished version of Kirby's version of that work, which was released years and years later, but they included it here because that way this caps off the Jack Kirby era on Fantastic Four. Because I think Lost Adventure, when was that published? Lost Adventure was published in 2008. So usually they do publishing orders, but they decided to jump a little bit and include that because that made sense to put there. The Kirby Lee run officially, I think, ends at 102 or 10. Yeah, it's 102, and then these are kind of included to wrap up the storyline. But yeah, Jack Kirby's era ends here. This is a great volume, and I think they did a great job adding the Lost Adventure in there for history's sake. Released August 25th, 2021 was Battle of the Behemoths. This is Volume 7 from 1970-1972 with Fantastic Four 105 to 125. This would be, I believe, the last volume with Stan Lee doing writing, and John Buscema came in and did artwork. And honestly, John Buscema's style in this volume is very Kirby-like. As you can see, it goes from that kind of into the more John Buscema look, especially when they were reworking that issue 102 into 108. This is just kind of picking up and continuing the run. I do appreciate that they put all of this in here, so that way, if you just wanted to get all the Stan Lee volumes, you could go through Volume 7. Released November 10th, 2021, This Flame, This Fury was the next volume. It kind of jumped back to the 90s. So this is 92 to 93 for Volume 22 with Fantastic Four 362 to 376, Annual 25 to 26, and Adventures of the Thing number 3. So this is Tom DeFalco's era. This is the infamous boob window Invisible Woman costume, but honestly, I don't necessarily hate the costume. I don't necessarily think it fits for Sue either, but she had some good writing in this era. You know, it's kind of one of those cases like a Jim Balent Catwoman where you're like, yeah, the costume's obviously there to sell comics off of covers, but the writing inside's pretty good. This is a very interesting era as well. It's very 90s, lots of things going on. They're changing up the team lineups. They're doing kind of crazy stuff. I do enjoy it, though. I think it's fun. I actually do enjoy this era. This volume for me was a little hard to get because I saw it in stock everywhere, and I was like, okay, yeah, the Sue costume is pretty infamous. It's early 90s. You know, I don't know if people have a high demand for it. And then like one day I looked and it was sold out everywhere, and I was like, oh crap. And then Barnes & Noble came in clutch because Barnes & Noble had it on their website, and that's how I got This Flame, This Fury. Now, March 9, 2022, we go sequentially forward with Nobody Gets Out Alive, more DeFalco era, 93 for 1993, 1984, so volume 23, I should say. And then it has Fantastic Four 377, 392, and Annual 27, plus Namor Submariner 47, 48, and the Fantastic Four Ashcan edition. You can see, continuing that same run from the previous era, which again is not like super beloved, but I think it's got, you know, its own iconic stories to it. And I've heard a lot of people say that they really enjoy it. I think there's some Atlantis crossover that's put in here. That's why there's Namor issues included. It's a fun time. But yeah, this one was another one I just kind of picked up. I think I got it at a comic shop. It wasn't too hard to come by at the time. Released August 22nd, 2022 was Annihilus Revealed. This is Volume 8 from 72 to 74. With 126 to 146 and Giant Size Superstars number 1. This is when Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway, John Buscema are taking over the book after Stan Lee's departure. Actually, I haven't read this volume yet because I've been wanting to read the entirety of the Kirby Lee run in order for the first time, which is also another reason why I was like, I need This Name is Doom and Master Planet Dr. Doom so I can just read them in order. So actually, I haven't read this one yet, but this is kind of a transitional period, creative team-wise. In terms of finding it, it got a little hard to get because I had picked up my first Fantastic Four epic like late 2022, early 2023. And so I hadn't decided yet that I wanted everything. And so I didn't pick this up when it was first new. But luckily, a local comic shop had a copy, so made it work. Released March 21st, 2023, The Dream is Dead, which is Steve Englehart, Roger Stern on this. This is 1988 to 1989 for Volume 19. Containing 321 and 333, Annual 22, and Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom, Triumph and Torment. Pretty solid volume for this, because I love this actual story with Doom and Strange. It's one of my favorite Doom stories. But yeah, pretty fun times. This is, continuing the run from the late 80s, and it's a good time. I also haven't read this volume in full yet. Thing is, I've read a lot of Fantastic Four, and part of now having like most of this in Epic, I'm like, oh, I can read it all chronologically where it sort of makes a little bit more sense at times, because I have a lot of volumes, a lot of random volumes, and a lot of compilation volumes. So I've read a huge chunk of this material. It's just not in the original order. And so it's going to be fun going through these and reading them in order. All right, August 29, 2023, The Crusader Syndrome. This is volume 9 from 74 to 76 with issues 147, 167, Giant Size 2 to 4, and Avengers 127. By the time this came out, I think I already had decided I'm going all in on Fantastic Four, so it's just a matter of picking it up. I ordered it online. Going forward from here, I don't really have any crazy stories to tell. Let's just go through the rest of the volumes that have come out since this one, because I don't think it was this one. I didn't buy this one day one, but I did pick it up pretty quick after it came out. The next volume, though, was the first time I just bought one day one. So released March 19, 2024 was Atlantis Rising, volume 24 from 94 to 95. Fantastic Four 393 to 402, Fantastic Force 7 to 9, Fantastic Four Atlantis Rising 1 to 2, and the collector's preview for that event. Why was this the first one you picked up? Because this is when I started just buying trades on a weekly basis. It was late 2023, early 2024. I strategized my entire collection, and I started going, okay, this comes out this week, this comes out this week. I can wait on this. I have to get this right away. I'm going to get this right away. This is my high priority. All that stuff. All the rules of collecting and everything started to come in place early 2024. And like late 2023, early 2024. So this is the first one that released after I decided I'm getting all the Fantastic Four epics. So I bought it day one. No reason to wait when I know I want it, and no reason to worry about it going out of print or anything, because I already know I want to get it. Same story goes for Counter-Earth Must Die, released September 24th, 2024. This is volume 10 from 76 to 78 with issues 168 to 191, annual 11, Marvel 2-in-1, number 20, and annual 11. So good stuff there. That is Roy Thomas, Lin Wein, George Perez, and Sal Buscema and John Buscema. Then For No More came out March 4, 2025. This is volume 11 from 78 to 80, 192 to 214, annual 12 and 13. Another fun volume there with Marv Wolfman and Keith Pollard and a little bit of John Byrne. Because John Byrne, before he did his legendary Fantastic Four run, did a little bit prior to that. August 5th, 2025, The Possession of Franklin Richards, which was volume 12. We've been going in order for a little bit here. 1980, 1981, Fantastic Four 215 to 231, and annual 14 to 16. This is mostly Doug Mensch and Bill Sienkiewicz, but we do also have a tiny bit of John Byrne prior to him taking over the book in full. And that happens in volume 13, Back to the Basics, which released February 3rd, 2026. And this contains 1981, 1982, Fantastic Four 232 to 248, Fantastic Four Rose to Material from What If 36. And yes, John Byrne's all-time Fantastic Four run is collected here. And I totally expect, just like the Kirby run, where they went in order, I think we're going to get John Byrne's run, which is going to be 13, 14, 15, and 16 in that order. But they're also going to do like they did with the Kirby and Lee run, where they bounce back and forth. This one came out in 2026. Our second one for 2026 is coming out August 11th, and that is volume 26, Heroes Reborn. So I think the next volume we'll probably see is 14, then maybe 27, then 15, then 28, 16, then 29. It's kind of an idea I have of how they're going to do it. That may change. They may decide to just start speed running the John Byrne volumes. But it does seem like we get 2 Fantastic Four epics a year. They filled in all the other gaps. So I have 1 through 13, and then 17 through 25. So 14 to 16, the other 3 volumes of Byrne. That's going to wrap out Fantastic Four and Epic. So for me, because I've been working on this collection for about 3 years now, I'd say 3 solid years of collecting every volume, it is worth it to me to have picked up those last 2 volumes for a little bit higher of a price than I expected. Because I also got several of these on discount. I didn't talk about this too much, but like a lot of the volumes I first bought, I know the retailers that give discounts on day one, so I got them 35% off to begin with. And then I've also, some of these volumes, I think Nobody Gets Out Alive, maybe. A couple of these I got on some, like the Target buy 2 get 1 sale. So I got some discounts. So if you were to add up what I paid for every volume, I still am under retail price even including the higher priced ones I paid for. For me, that was worth it. For other people, it may not be. And for some people, they may want to mix Omnis with Epics. I know some of the omnibuses skip over some issues that the Epics don't. It's going to have to be on your own. But in general, if you're wanting to say, oh, I want to buy every Fantastic Four Epic, should I start now? It's not the best environment for it, to be totally honest, because Marvel has significantly reduced the number of Epic reprints in a year. In 2026, I think we only get like 7 or 8 Epic reprints, and that's a problem because there's a ton of volumes out of print. And the other problem is that the reprints are only Spider-Man and X-Men. Fantastic Four didn't get any reprints this year. Fantastic Four only got a couple reprints last year. So it's going to be a little bit harder as, you know, copies of All in the Family or Strange Days or The Master Plan of Doctor Doom and Name is Doom, as those get bought up and there's no new copies to go into the marketplace, they are going to be a little harder to find. And that's a bummer because I think that for a long-running series like this, I think affordable trade paperbacks is a good method to collect it as opposed to omnibuses, right? Because it's still going to be a bunch of omnis, but it also could be a bunch of paid paperbacks and a little bit easier to read. That's why I started these over buying the omnis. But in terms of current price value and current market value, the omnibuses are going to be your better bang for your buck option, which is a bummer because it feels like it should be the opposite. But anyways, that is my talk on the Fantastic Four Epic Collection. Having them all, I'm pretty happy with it. Here's a shot of the Fantastic Four Epics all laid out on my floor, just so you can see all the covers at once. And then here's a shot with the gaps put in, like what we're missing to fill in later. I'm excited to really do a deep dive into reading Fantastic Four chronologically, because now that I have 1 through 13, I want to go through and read them all in order and get all the issues in order. And then I'm going to wait for 14, 15, and 16. Then I'll read 17 through 20, whatever at that point. Or I'll jump ahead. I may just jump ahead and just read 17 to 25. I love this team. I could reread these comics too. For me, Fantastic Four, I've never read a Fantastic Four comic I didn't enjoy in some way. I always enjoy something about them. And that, I think, is why I went through the effort to collect all their epics. So if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Also be sure to check out our Discord server in the link below. You can also check out the channel memberships and get perks like early access to videos and special shoutouts. Let's give some special shoutouts to some of our channel members. Special shout out to these Captain Tier channel members: Spin-54, Forever1000, MasterBen95, Supershatix Boom, Veloquence, Mr. Smelly Potato, Alt Mode Archive, Alice James, Taran Thomas, Headbang1211, Incurgio, and Big Guido KC. Thank you all for your support of this channel, viewers and channel members alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for comic reviews and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, call the four, Fantastic Four.